Did you hear about the bomb threat at the USU?
Yes. Look at what was going on under Biden. We have zero constitutional protections if the wrong guy becomes president.
Oh.
So guess what? Guess what? You know how to get people out? Free pot, free health care.
Welcome out to God and Country. I'm Uriah Kennedy, and this is Ingrid Bettridge. We got a tremendous guest on with us this week. This is Carolyn Phippen. Phippen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Now, again, we were going to have Border Patrol on this week. We were going to have ICE on last week, but everybody knows with the government shutdown, that is not happening. So both of them have postponed 2 weeks. So again, we're going to have ICE on next week, Border Patrol the following week. Fingers crossed that some miracle that the government opens back up in the next few days, which looking at how things are going up there is probably not likely.
Yeah, I think you're promising an awful lot that you may not be.
Probably not likely. It might be going out another week or two. And then Mike Lee is also coming on, but also postponed until they can get the government back on. So we'll see how things go. But just stay tuned. We're also going to have Angel Studios on here in a couple weeks. We might move them up if we can and switch them with one of these weeks, and I'll contact them and see if we can move them up. But a lot of things coming up on the podcast. So just remember, like, subscribe, share us. Again, we're getting massive impression problem with YouTube, and so unless you guys are out there sharing it, we're not getting out there. So help us grow the channel and share it with everybody you can. So getting into today's conversation, we're going to be talking about the big things in the news right now, which is government shutdown and obviously what is happening at all these ICE facilities, which is what we're going to love to talk about once we can get ICE actually in here. But a lot of things happening up in Oregon, a lot of things happening down in Houston, and we'll get into that. But first off, let's kind of start off how you got started. Where'd you grow up? How you got into politics, to kind of walk us through your growing up period.
Well, I actually don't know fully how I got my interest in politics, right? It just happened. But I always, like growing up, I always read the newspaper. I cared what was going on. We used to get the newspaper back then. Remember?
I remember that.
Right? I read it every day. And I cared about those things. And I remember actually even in elementary and junior high, some political conversations coming up, not always by me, but I would think about these things and then engage in them. Anyway,
did your parents talk about that stuff in the home?
I don't remember a ton of it. They're quite political, but I don't know that I remember a ton of it growing up.
Well, for the audience, kind of go through the positions you've had so they know, because some people not have heard you. So you were running for Senate.
Yeah.
You worked for Mike Lee for a while. You worked for Greg Hughes for a while.
Yes. When Greg was Speaker of the House, I worked for him. I was Chief of Communications there for the House, and then left. And prior to that, actually, so I was home raising kids for 20 years, and I did writing for a number of politicians around the country. So conservative only. I have done some voiceover, and it was funny because one time there was a book, and I'd been hired to record this one book. And I tried to make sure that, because I did some political work as well, tried to make sure that anything I did was not at odds with what I believe, because I do think that our political, especially today, policy positions, principles that guide us are important, right? And they're central to who I am. And so there are some things that you might support that I wouldn't support, that I wouldn't have a problem with. But when the very most basic principles that you believe are different from mine, I'm not going to voice that, right? So I was hired for this book. It was an economics book. And I had asked the author to send me a few pages. Initially, I looked things over. I was good. We got under contract and he sent me the whole book. And I went, oh no. Like, this guy was an economist. It was a serious book, but I could not.
No kidding.
I could not. And he was very gracious because he would not have had to have let me out of that. But he did. So, yeah, I feel like for a long time, just exposure to ideas and like I used to subscribe to the New York Times, to the Washington Post, to the Wall Street Journal, rather. And there was another one. I'm trying to think. Regardless, I care about understanding what other people think who don't agree with me. And that's never been a problem for me. And I grew up around a lot of people who did agree with me and a lot of people who didn't. And in fact, so this I do think is interesting, though. I feel like many of my best friends, I say this to my husband, I don't understand what it is, but in my life, many of the people who've been my favorite people have been like hippie lefties, and I don't get it. I find them delightful much of the time, but they're people who just love everybody too. And they aren't as focused on really destructive policies. But I think that when we learn to relate to people who don't think like us, it's easier to convince them that we're right too. Right?
That's fair. I haven't been very successful in that because I have friends across the spectrum, but
I think it's almost impossible today. I think we've become so divided and the left, it is a problem mainly of the left. We see it on our side as well, but it's a problem that is just astronomical on the left. And that is that the facts don't matter. Data doesn't matter. I was watching a discussion earlier today with some people on the left and one individual on the right, and he was explaining data. And this whole group of people said, yeah, I've never heard that before. I don't accept it. So when you only expose yourself to positions that are just like yours, and I don't care if it's someone on the right doing it or someone on the left doing it, then you don't understand the context and you can easily be lied to and led. And that's super dangerous. Right?
Well, it's putting yourself into a bubble, putting yourself into a box. And then that's how you succumb to the narrative.
That's right.
And that's what we're seeing everywhere right now. Everywhere. You can't even talk to a leftist person because they're so drawn into that narrative. That is all they believe. That's all they will believe. And you will not be able to convince them of anything else because look at our mainstream media. Look what NBC's putting out there, CBS, what they're all putting out there. The funny thing is as much as I'd love to get my dad to switch the news station, I was down at his house over the weekend, and he was watching nightly news on Sunday or something like that. I'm like, you still watching this? And the nightly news started talking about the shutdown. And again, it wasn't blatantly blaming the Republicans for it, but he was blaming the Republicans for it. And he started talking about how that Democrats are upset that they're taking insurance away. And I'm like, where's the rest of the story? And we'll get into this about the insurance going to the illegals. I'm like, you know that all that is going to the illegals, right, Dad? And he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, why are you still watching this? Why are you still giving them ratings?
Right. Well, they hardly have any viewership.
Yeah, but it said that older population that's stuck on 60 Minutes, stuck on nightly news.
Fox 13, I was telling you last week, on Facebook, put out fact check. The Democrats did not shut down
what?
The government. Fact check. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our
So I
own
understand where
local
you're coming
Fox
from.
13. I don't understand. I thought it was a joke or something just to get you to read the article. So I went reading through it. I'm like, you are kidding me.
But can you give context? What did they say the reason for the shutdown was? Because, by the way, when it's Democrats who control everything and Republicans who won't accept the budget, it's the Republicans' fault. But when it's the Republicans who control everything and put out a clean CR and the Democrats say, no, we want $1.5 trillion in additional spending, it's not their fault. It's the Republicans for
and
putting
they
out
didn't
a
have
clean
a reason.
CR?
They didn't have a reason because there
in the
isn't one.
article?
I didn't read the whole thing. Once I got going, no, this is for real. I think I tagged you in it when.
Yeah.
You knew there was nothing worth reading there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Yeah, but it's dangerous too.
Well,
right?
it creates such a blind electorate.
Yeah.
And when they go out and vote, they vote a certain way. And when you get the rhetoric to follow it up, violent rhetoric.
I know.
That's where you get this acting up. This is why you have all these people in front of the ICE facilities. And again, that's what we're going to get in today. But this all stems from not knowing the other side and not knowing all the facts. I mean, okay, great. You're a liberal. You believe in those liberal tendencies. You still have to understand the other side. You still have to know what it is from their point of view, because I understand the liberal side from their point of view.
That's right.
And I'm still speaking out against it, but I still understand it.
Right.
I understand
And
where
you
you're
don't
coming
want
from.
to
I
kill
don't
them
agree
or
with
anything,
it.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't celebrate when they die, which is a problem that we on the right are having with the left.
Mm-hmm.
And they will not. I'm telling you, I was at that Charlie Kirk event up at USU last week, and I posted that while I was up there, just like a video, 1 minute long or whatever. Got massive attention on Instagram, and I said something on it like, I guess this didn't work out quite the way the left hoped it would, killing Charlie. And that was the largest event that they'd ever done on one of their tours to that
really?
point. Yep. 6,600, I think. And I hear the one earlier this week was huge. I saw pictures. I think it looked bigger.
Did you hear about the bomb threat at the USU?
Yes. Yeah, because I was going up and I thought.
So my daughter's up there at USU, and I get a text message, all the classes got canceled. There's a bomb threat right before the
Of course
TP
there was.
event. I'm like,
yeah.
trying to send everybody home.
Yep.
Of course, it wasn't a bomb, but obviously they wanted to diminish the crowd
That's right. Someone wanted to make sure that people were afraid.
and did
together.
show up.
Yeah. And so there was that. And one of my friends actually got on there and said, stop being divisive. Everyone on the left and the right abhor political murder. And I went, no, my friend, they do not. That's the whole problem.
You were being divisive?
That I was being divisive for saying that this didn't work out the way the left wanted to because it was uniting the right and it's increasing our numbers. It is increasing our numbers. I talked to so many young people that night who are like, how do I get involved? I was sending them phone numbers. I was of young, like college Republicans. Did you see, it was at UVU? Let me tell you, the college Republicans at every single university right now in the state of Utah, they are on fire. They are amazing. Follow them on X if you don't.
Yeah.
They are recruiting. They are registering voters. They are talking to people. Down at UVU earlier this week, think about this when we were growing up. Down at UVU earlier this week, they had a Students for Life event. They said that in their first week, they had 120 students join on a college campus of
Really?
Students for Life. The world is shifting.
Meanwhile, Parents United apparently went in there and found that they're violating Trump's order to stop the DEI, and they recorded. Did you
yes.
see that?
Yes, that was at
We ought to have Parents
SUU,
United
wasn't
on.
it?
No, it was at UVU. Well, they said they did several campuses.
Oh,
the video
okay.
I saw was at
Okay.
UVU, recorded. They later come back in and go, were you saying that you just rebranded it and you're doing it in a different way? She goes, no, I never said that. And he goes, would you be interested in seeing the video?
Oh, to the woman who had said it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And was she interested? My guess is no.
She listened. She asked them to leave. She wanted the cameras to leave, and she said she would sit down and have a conversation. It goes on a little further. But yeah, it was disgusting.
Oh, I love that they caught them in the act.
Mhm.
I did see there was some of that. I know that there was some, I talked to a friend down south who said SUU is doing way better. I think it was SUU. They had some problems. So I did not realize they had multiple of these. That's amazing.
Because as a grandparent, I tell my kids, I don't know if I want any of my grandchildren going to college.
I know.
One's like, I think I'm going to do lashes. I'm like, good, do lashes. That's great.
Well, you know what, though? It's so interesting to me. If you look at people who are in, and I've always said this, the further away you get from the production of anything that sustains life, food, fuel, clothes, the further away you get from the production of what sustains life, the greater chance you have of becoming a liberal, because you are disconnected from action, consequence, work, and effort and result.
Work.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
And so you don't, you have a lot of people, and I have kids in the tech world, and they're not like this, but you have a lot of people who sit behind a computer and just think the world is magic and it's always looked like this.
That's a great point.
And I do tell them all the time, if you think any of this is like the natural state of man, you're an idiot. Take a look at history. It is a very, very short period of time in all of human history that we have been able to even have like luxury time.
Running water.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Flushing toilets,
Right.
paved roads.
Right.
And that's why it's so easy to convince them that capitalism is bad.
Yes. Because they are disconnected from the realities that sustain their lives. They don't understand the work that it requires to eat, because it
It's just
doesn't
there.
require them work, especially when you get a government check. That's someone else's sweat and labor.
This is Uriah Kennedy with God and Country, and one of the main reasons why I live in the Great Rocky Mountains of Utah is because I am constantly getting out into the mountains and going hiking, camping. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that I enjoy more than getting out and hiking the great landscapes that we have here. From the great national parks we have, Bryce Canyon, Zion's Canyon, to the great mountains of hunting and fishing here in the Uintas and other major attractions we have in the Rockies. Everybody has the ability to get out and just enjoy the great outdoors across this country. One of the best and only ways to do that is with the proper equipment. You have to go out with the proper equipment, whether that's tents or sleeping bags or coolers or lanterns or cooking utensils or apparel that you need to keep yourself warm or keep yourself dry. It doesn't matter what it is. We know that Coleman makes everything, absolutely everything in the outdoor arena. I have used Coleman products since I was a little kid, and now I'm sponsoring them. Everybody knows and trusts Coleman. Coleman's been around for generations. Your parents have had it. Your great-grandparents have had it. Coleman has been around for a very, very, very long time, and we all know the Coleman products. We want to thank Coleman for helping us with this channel. We would ask you to click on the QR code that's popping up on your screen or the link that is in our description and go to Coleman using the QR code popping up on your screen or the link in the description to buy all your outdoor needs and equipment from Coleman. It has to go through our QR code or through the description in order to support this channel, so we would ask you to support the channel. Click on the QR code or the link in the description and get all your outdoor equipment, your tents, your sleeping bags, your camping utensils, anything that you possibly need for the great outdoors. Get it through the QR code or the link in the description.
So we have taught them. I really was upset. I'd be upset about this.
That's where that entitlement mentality comes
Yes.
in. That you owe me mentality comes in. And then that's where the whole socialism mentality is coming in, because now it's going even farther because they're seeing millionaires and billionaires and say, hey, you shouldn't have that much money. You didn't earn that.
Yeah.
When they did.
Yeah.
You didn't earn that. Give it to me.
Yeah. But I worry too. I agree with you. I think we're in a place, though, where there's been so much money dumped into our economy by the Fed, trillions upon trillions upon trillions, that a lot of wealthy people and even like just normal people doing really well would not be in that situation if it weren't for the fake money on the backs of the workers.
Getting bailed out.
Right? So we do have, I've always agreed with that. I actually don't think that's what we live in right now. I think there are wealthy people who have earned it, and there are normal people who have earned it. There are a whole lot of people in every strata of society who have fed off the government teat or just stolen money. You look at what has happened since COVID. You look, first of all, at what happened since the downturn in 08, 09. And all of the money production and all the, do you know, with all of those bank bailouts, the banks had so much money sitting on their books that they did not know what to do with it. You know where they started dumping it? Real estate. A year ago, I haven't looked at this in 6 months or a year, but 44% of the single-family homes for sale in the United States of America at that time, or that were purchased at that time, were purchased by large investment firms. Prior to the 08-09 bailouts, it was virtually zero.
Yeah, we actually covered that in a previous podcast. I think we did it with Rod Hall and a few others where BlackRock and Vanguard own a massive amount of houses, which is why the housing values are going up, because they're using their own houses to puff up the value.
Yes.
So they're
Yes.
outpricing everybody.
And we gave them the money.
We gave them money. And
That's our money.
Which is forcing everybody into the rental properties.
Correct.
Which is what
Which
they
then bought up.
want.
Yep.
Because they bought off all the rental properties, and that's how they're cash flowing. It's because they own the property, it's sitting on it. It's increasing its value because they're fluffing with all the other houses that they own in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Plus just that constant paycheck every single month from the renter.
Yes. Do you know, if you look the last 10 years, even within our own state, tons of single-family home developers became apartment developers. That's where they shifted. And here's the crazy thing, 30 years ago, so I used to think like I would not want to be in the building industry because if you're in Utah, that land's going to run out. We have so little land. Oh no, they planned ahead. They just figured they would force people into rentals and throw high density, force through the state legislature into every community across Utah. And it's exactly what they've done.
Exactly. Well, I was a home builder for 12, 15 years.
Oh.
I built homes, lots of them, well over 300 of them. And I faced that land problem. I faced the city councils where they were, when I first started, you couldn't get high density housing because they would zone you out. Then towards the end of it, just everything went high density. Just everything went high density.
And it was forced on by the state.
Yep. Because it was considered low income housing, right? Everybody was.
Well,
the problem with the mix between low income housing and high density is not to pick on those who rent, but those who do rent have less respect for the house than they do if they own the house.
Yes.
And so it creates slums. It creates the where you're tagging everything and the trash on the streets because they not my property.
Yeah.
They just don't take care of it. And that's what you're seeing all around the country. It's bringing it here because there's a massive difference between just the mental attitude you have towards that property between if you own it and you're renting it.
Yep.
And that's where the crime comes from too, because ask anybody where the vast majority of crime comes in. It comes from people renting.
It does come from rentals. Yep. No one wants to say that. It's true.
No, it's like a hush word because you're slamming the poorer people.
We need to be able to state facts.
Yep. We'll kind of go through.
Okay. Yeah, where did
you grow up? Well, that's the whole point of this podcast is just kind of running with it. So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in upstate New York, and went to BYU from there, and then served a mission actually in Czechoslovakia right after the wall came down. My companion and I were the first sisters to go in, and so that was an
What were you
adventure.
speaking?
Czech.
Actual Czech. You weren't speaking Russian or anything else like that.
Nope, Czech. Oh, they hated the Russians. So they were forced to learn Russian, but they would not speak Russian by the time the Russians were out of their backyard. Oh, wow. Right?
I have one set of relatives that my uncle was Czechoslovakian, Janatka.
Huh.
So my cousins are.
Where in upstate New York did you grow up?
Corning?
Corning? What's that next to?
Not far from Ithaca, Cornell University. I was born in Ithaca.
Plano, or not Plano, but
Well, it's southern New York. Very southern, but outside of the city.
My gosh.
Yeah.
So, what
got
you to move out to Utah? I mean, BYU.
Went to BYU.
You just stayed here?
What'd you study?
Yeah. Political science. Yeah. So studied political science and then got married not long after my mission. My husband and I had been dating before, and then we got married after. And then we had our first son 10 months after we got married and have 5 boys, 32 in a week, down to 17. So a high schooler at home.
Well,
and a son on a mission in Mexico right now, and then a son in Japan, a son in southern Utah, and a son in Vegas. So, yeah. But my family's all over, right? My siblings. So most of us don't live here, which is also interesting, especially when like some are liberal and some are conservative.
Oh,
That's
And
gotta
everyone is political.
that's gonna be a fun conversation.
great.
So yeah, but no, I really just think that I don't know. I was just drawn to politics in my whole life, and really would have these conversations. But funny, so being the first sister into that mission, there were like 30 missionaries there or something when I arrived, and by the time I left, there were still only a handful of sisters. So, but one of my favorite companions was a total liberal from Minnesota. And she told me one time, she said, well, she would have told me right after, she had an interview with our mission president. And she says, I told him that we're just not getting any sleep. And he said, why? And she said, because we're arguing all the time or we're debating all the time. And he said, well, what's going on? She said, well, we work all day and we get back to the apartment and we debate politics all night long and we can't get any sleep. And he said, stop talking politics. But yes, she was totally on the left. And anyway, and there's actually an elder, I won't name him, but he's a 70 now, and he is a Democrat, and we would have very interesting discussions because I consider him one of my trainers because we didn't have sisters. But
Did you maintain a friendship with that sister?
yes, but I'm really bad if you're not around. And at the time, she came out for my wedding and I went back there for hers. And yes, like up to maybe 15 years ago, we would still talk on the phone every once in a while, but it was I had a cell phone because I worked at Cellular One. That's where, prior to my mission, my husband worked there. That's where we met. So we always had cell phones, but not everyone did, Mm-hmm. And so I don't think I even have a cell phone number for her. And she's not on social media and we've lost touch. But we stayed in touch for 15 years.
So how's somebody of faith like that?
I know.
Do you have any answers?
No.
Okay.
No.
I want to understand.
Well, the only answer I have is
They can't agree with all the ideals.
no. No.
How do you deal with abortion?
No, but what they say is, because I have had this conversation with multiple Democrats, and what they say is it's different. My morality is different than what the law should be, and everyone needs to make that decision for themselves. But we don't say that about murder. So you're not respecting the life of the human inside the mother, right? So,
and you know better as a person of faith when life begins.
Right.
So that's why I just wonder if there's an inner turmoil. They go, I still equate to these values, just not those couple of things.
No, I have never come across a Democrat who rejected abortion, even Democrats of faith.
No, I haven't either. I expressed this last week too, is that the main issue that Democrats have because of that is they just don't want the responsibility. They want to postpone it. They don't want to be held responsible for anything. So if they had sex, they don't want to have responsibility for that action. So thus abortion is they didn't work very hard. So thus they want to have the handout, right? They want to have redistribution of wealth. So they just don't want the responsibility. They don't want your morals and values, what they feel is being imposed upon them.
Right.
When it's not, you're still free to choose, but
That's right.
there's repercussions for your choices, and that's where they have a problem.
They do. And at the same time that they don't want your morals and values imposed on them, they are perfectly willing through the force of government to impose their morals and values on you. Mm-hmm. And they don't recognize it as that. They do not recognize it.
No, they recognize they see it as just freedom. Just everybody does whatever they want, but they don't. You're suppressing me if you don't accept that I'm LGBTQ, and you don't give me my pronouns, and you don't do this, and you don't do that. You don't allow men and women's sports. If all that kind of stuff, if you don't allow those things, then you're suppressing me. They don't see that as imposing their values on somebody else.
No,
And
they
just
don't.
the reverse, we're like, we're not going to allow you to have an abortion. We're like, well, then that's imposing your values upon us. We're no, well, there's a difference between a value and a living human
life.
being. right?
I know.
So, and then you try to say a prayer at a football game or something like that. Well, see, you're imposing your stuff
Right.
on top of me. I'm like,
Not making you pray.
Right.
we're not making you pray. You're not forcing you to sit there and close your eyes and bow your head, anything like that. Just play on your phone for a few
Yeah.
seconds. It's just words.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything.
And
So
kind
there's
words. Wishing you well.
Right. Isn't it weird?
It's just the dilemma is very weird.
And I just find it really interesting that all these people who said for years, well, if you don't like it, just turn off the TV. Remember when there would be crude and rude and disgusting stuff? Well, don't watch it if you don't like it. Now they're the ones who were saying, well, you're going to hurt someone's feelings if, finish the sentence. And so we all have to watch and witness and be exposed to all kinds of stuff that they told us before. If you don't like it, just turn off the TV. But they will insert drag shows into children's spaces.
And that's where I draw the line.
Right? Though it's all lunacy. And here's the issue, though. This is why principles are so important, because you can move anywhere you want to as long as there are no principles. And these days, when I have those discussions with people on the left, and it's really difficult to now because most of them won't. I have a few friends who will. One in particular I can think of, but I'll tell you, recently she said, it was on Facebook, she should never get on and comment on my videos on Facebook or Instagram because a lot of people are jerks, I'm just going to say. And, she doesn't agree and she'll say something, but she's a thinking person. But there was something she said recently, that isn't true. And I said, Amy, you need better news sources. This is completely true. And it totally offended her that I said you need better news sources. But she's not offended we're still friends.
Yeah.
But she was like, that was really rude. And I thought, it wasn't rude. Like, expand your horizons if you didn't know that was a lie, right? That what your news sources have been telling you is a lie. It tells me that you aren't exposing yourself to enough. And she was in the news business, so she should understand that, but she doesn't. But she has a mom and dad who are, one's total MAGA and they're divorced, and one is total left. So she grew up with listening. She can listen, she can tolerate it. But I do think that most of them struggle with that. So I'll always tell people when they want to have that discussion on whatever the issue is that they want to discuss, I always ask them first, what's your principle? If you can't define your principle that is then explaining like everything around it, then we can't get anywhere because you're just going to pivot wherever you need to. What's your principle? What principle backs up your position that is consistent? Because principles are consistent. So once I know your principle, then I hope I can understand your ideological framework. But the left can't do that. They can never do that.
No, because they don't want to do that either, because in abortion, it's my body, my choice, right? But in
COVID,
it's not, right? And that's how that changes.
Yep.
Every single time. And same thing, it's women's choice and women's live and women's freedom and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to LGBTQ, no, these men have to be able to play in your sport, right?
No principles.
Look, and then there's the same thing with Muslims. And so, or any type of news that doesn't meet the narrative, right? So you have black on black violence, not a word about it in the media, right? Muslim on Muslim violence back in the Middle East, not a word about it. But if you have Israeli on Muslim violence, or if you have white on black violence here at home, then all of a sudden it's everywhere. And so
you need to watch.
It's a narrative that's not being met, and so there's no principles behind it.
No, and they will not listen. You need to watch this. I watched this just this morning. Steven Crowder went into a black barbershop and was talking to these guys. Apparently he did something with them a few years ago, but I saw a clip on this and I thought, I got to watch this. So while I was getting ready, I was listening to this and it was fascinating because he was telling them, he was trying to explain why white rage is boiling up and how whites have been discriminated against. They would not acknowledge it. They wouldn't. Literally, one of these guys said, look, if standards are being lowered for blacks, that's wrong, but that's not what's happening. to get into schools. These guys didn't
Didn't see it, didn't believe it.
they didn't believe it. And these aren't young men either. So they honestly don't believe it. And he went through a number of things, and you're 12 times more, a white is 12 times more likely to be attacked by a black than a black attacked by a white. And no, that's just not true. A white person is more likely, there are more white people shot by police every year than black people. And they just, no, they would not. And these were guys who were open to discussion, and they weren't stupid
they're
people.
working class, and they wouldn't do that. So they don't see the lower class that's doing that, because they themselves are probably more principled than that and wouldn't attack somebody. So they can't fathom that their own people would do that.
And they aren't exposing themselves to enough information. It's just amazing to me that you can be 60 years old and not understand some of these super basic facts that have been written about for decades. But maybe too, to be a little fair there, maybe too, if you grew up around racism, decades ago, or your parents did, and you had some of this in your mind, maybe you just have a trust issue too with sources that are outside of,
Yeah, I can see that.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, but boy, we got to move past this. And his whole point, Stephen's whole point in this discussion was, you guys need to understand what's happening, because it's not going to go well if we can't all talk. And if you can't understand where other people come from at the same time we're trying to understand where you're coming from. We all have to be willing to do that. We may never agree at the end on what the solution is, but we have to be able to agree on what the facts are. And we're not a society that can even agree on what the facts are.
No.
Yeah. I mean, even Charlie Kirk came out with that. I was interviewing somebody that was mentioning about all the gun violence within the country. And he said, okay, let's walk through the numbers. How many do you think, guess, how many cops killed how many blacks last year alone? And he said, well, it's got to be dozens, right? Like absolutely dozens. And he's like, no, it was 6. For the whole year, in the entire country, 6 black people were killed by white cops. They're like, well, it doesn't seem like that in the media. And he's like, exactly my point. That's exactly what he said. That's my point. That's my point, is you got to get off of that. It was 6. He says, now take that a little bit further. How many white guys were killed by cops last week? And it was like, well over 30 or 35 or something like that. It was a big number. He says, well, I had no idea it was going to be that.
No idea. But
then he gave him the bad number, which is, okay, now let's take violence as a whole within the entire country. He says, so the black population, you guys are about 18% of the population in the entire United States is black. So we're not a very big population, right? And he says, now, what percentage of crime is committed by black people when you're only 18% of the population? And they're like, I don't know, 20? He says, no, it's around 50 to 56% of crime is committed by 18% of the population. He says, that's what people are seeing, and that's the issue. It's not racism. Those are just the numbers.
Right. Yes.
Those are the facts. I saw one this morning, not even to pick on black. So Poland just put out a statistic. So they're the only country that's not taking in migrants.
Oh,
and
yeah. Yep.
And the president was actually proud. It was actually asked by a newscaster, like, you haven't taken anybody and you're proud of that? And he's like, notice my country's not having any problem.
Yeah.
At all. And they took a poll of the ones that were able to get in. And they said that there was like 400 some odd of them that were able to get in. It says of those 400, 80+% of them are now served prison time for committing a crime. 80% of the 400 that are in there. Their rape went up from, I think it was only like around 2,000 or 3,000. They polled, not just Poland, but Germany, England, Italy, and others, and they polled the rape population. So yeah, this is actual numbers from England, Germany, France, and Poland. So the year 2000, and this is just rape in the whole country. And these countries are not very big countries.
Right.
size of maybe Texas, maybe a little smaller. England and Wales, 2000 was 8,593 rapes. 2023, 2 years ago, after the influx of illegal Muslim migration, right? 68,109.
Oh my heavens.
From 2000 to 2023, so 3 years, went from 8,500 to 68,000 rapes.
Yeah, not okay.
Not okay.
And these
And they don't want to recognize it because they don't want to blame the Muslim population because they don't want to mess them up. And that's the same thing we're having here is we don't want to blame the black population or the Muslim population here in their own country, but the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
Gets better. Germany, 2000, 8,133 rapes back in 2000. Now, 39,029. So it's not just one country.
Yeah.
France, 7,500 rapes back in 2000. 2023, 42,400.
Wow.
Best number of them all, Poland, which is the only country that did not allow any Muslims to go in. None. And he was proud of that. 2,399. So 2,400 rapes back in 2000. 2023, 1,100.
Oh my heavens, it went down.
It went down. Down from 2000.
Like pretty substantial.
It was like less than half. 2,400 to 1,100, just under 50%, just under half the rapes went down. England, 8,500 to 68,000. I mean, we were talking to Megan Strader last week, and she has a friend that lives over in England, and said literally, women know for a fact that they cannot walk out in the street, can't go in the subway by themselves. He says, it is a fact you will get raped. It's not even a question now. And when you went from 8,500 to 68,000 in 2 years,
Yes. Wow.
isn't that crazy? Those are legitimate numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, what?
I know. But it's just like you were saying. They care about women until they don't, until there's another subgroup that they care about more. Like women being raped and children, by the way, we all have heard about those. Yeah. I mean, for 15 years, I've been reading about those rape gangs in England, and they've done nothing. And in fact, have imprisoned people who complain about them. What? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. These Muslim rape gangs. Yes.
Yeah, so that was the other story that came out.
Girls.
Yeah, so that was the funny thing that came out too was in England.
If you expose it, you go to prison.
They had a young woman that got gang raped over the period of 3 hours by 11 Muslim men. Gang raped for over and over again, again. Took the Muslims to court. 8 of them got off with probation. 1 of them got prison for only 2 years, and the other 2 got off. The best friend of the girl that got raped, with video, they said there was actual video. They filmed the entire event. 100% of it was filmed on film, shown in court, and they still only gave 8 of them probation. The other one got 2 years of prison or something like that. The best friend of the girl that got raped started commenting about one of the Muslim guys on her social media feed. Got arrested and put in jail didn't get arrested. She got sued for defamation.
Oh my gosh.
And the Muslim guy won. And he was one of the main participants on video.
Oh my gosh.
Won the defamation lawsuit in England. That's how bad it is over there. I'm like,
prophecy fulfilled.
Yeah.
You can't even live over there. I mean, what do you do with it?
I know. I was talking to a woman actually from England a couple weeks ago, and she said she's been over here almost 20 years, I think, and she said her in-laws said to her and her husband, it's getting bad here. You should leave. They came to the U.S. with their kids, and she's so grateful because now it would probably be really difficult, to get in and stay legally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they're citizens now.
Well, then you got
they saw it
Trump going to the UN saying, look, you can't even recognize Paris anymore. You can't walk down the streets. You can't even recognize London anymore. In the UN, and their leaders are like, what are you talking about? And I don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
And now you got the same thing going on up in Washington or in
I
Chicago.
know.
The governor's like, what are you talking about, a war zone? It's not a war zone. He had a flat jacket on and everything, making fun of Trump on that post he put up.
By the way, it may not be a war zone for you and your people. It's a war zone for the ICE agents who you're crazy people who have not been subject to the rule of law.
Go
are
film
attacking.
that in front of the ICE building and then
Right.
tell me. Don't go pick some random street in your city and film it.
That's right. You have to
Go
do
in
it
front of
the
the ICE
area where
facility
it's
and tell me it's not a war zone.
And
Film it
by-
in front of the building.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Trump's first term. I have a cousin actually from up there, Portland area, and he's liberal, and he was furious when Trump, remember, didn't he send National Guard just to guard the federal buildings up there?
Well, that's what he's doing in
Right.
Portland and in
I
Chicago,
know.
but they're not even letting him into the state.
Oh, they're
So
not?
they're all stationed outside waiting for the court hearing to come over with because it's in
No.
court right now. And the judge forbade it, but now they took it to the appeals court. The appeals court has it. So they're not letting the National Guard into either Portland or Chicago.
Oh, my gosh.
This National Guard is stationed just outside of the city, outside of Portland, outside of Chicago, but they can't do anything until after the court hearing. As a child, I grew up shooting BB guns. I was probably shooting my sister's dolls more often than anything else, but there was nothing like growing up and learning how to shoot accurately and learning how to take care of a firearm. There's no better way of doing that as a parent than being able to teach your children good firearm safety by using a BB gun or a pellet gun. Not only that, but it provides a lot of enduring fun for yourself as an adult and something you can do father and son or father and daughter. There are great equipment out there. We want to introduce you to Crossman. Crossman's been around for a long time. I've always had a Crossman growing up. Crossmans provide excellent accuracy and a lot of power for a BB gun. There's a lot of different styles to choose from different types of air rifles and pistols, even to fully automatic BB guns and other types of air guns. You need to go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen to be able to go to Crossman and make those BB gun purchases, those air rifle purchases. Again, it's going to supply you hours of fun and enjoyment with you and your kids as well as you as an adult. And BBs are a lot less expensive than actual ammunition. So go to Crossman by using the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on the screen and enjoy the accuracy, the quality of construction, and the hours of family fun that you will have with these air rifles and BB guns. Again, the link in the description, the QR code that's popping up on your screen, and then support our channel. Thank you. So...
But remember that the first time? This is the problem, a lot of the people who live there, right? My cousin was like, you can walk around Portland, it's just fine. And this was when that Chaz thing was going on. Remember that? And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're outside of that in a different area, it's fine. It's not fine for the property owners who have to go through Chaz, where murders are taking place, where drug use is taking place, where open sex is taking place, and there are no repercussions for anything. It is a problem if you're there. It's just like you said, don't go to a different street and say no problem here. Like, shouldn't the rule of law matter everywhere on every street in this country? Shouldn't it?
Okay. Well, the other kind that Chicago has is, I mean, you can't lie about the numbers either. I mean, they had 47 shootings, or not even 47 people actually shot over the weekend. Like 8 or 9 of them died.
Oh my gosh.
Just the last weekend, at the same time he's putting out this video, there's not a war zone here. They put out numbers. I saw another statistic. So they compared the Afghanistan and Iraq wars to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And the numbers were that on average, like 148 people died 148 soldiers died per year during both the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. That was the average, 148
Yeah,
soldiers
Chicago's worse.
per year. Then they said, okay, let's look at Chicago.
Yeah.
660 per year. He said Chicago's worse than a war zone.
I don't understand people who want to live in this. Could someone explain?
No, I don't.
You're in a
I
war
don't
zone,
get
only
that.
148 soldiers die per year on average. I mean, some years are more, some that's why it's an average. But 660 a year, And just Chicago, not even counting the rest of the state, it was just Chicago.
Yeah. But yet, you guys, they keep electing the same people. And I have thought over the past few years, maybe it's because there's manipulation with the elections, which, hello, that's totally plausible. On the other hand, but then I talk to people on the left and they think this is all cool, just like that cousin of mine.
Completely oblivious.
So Portland's fine. What are you talking about? So I don't know how to help these people if they're going to keep voting for this, if they truly are voting for it.
They are. They did, one of these social media people that I was telling you about was in front of the ICE building up in Portland, started interviewing a bunch of people. And no, this is actually a Portland news station did this. There's a farmer's market a couple blocks away from the ICE building. So they went over to the farmer's market and just started interviewing people. They're like, there's no violence over here. There's nothing over here going on. And everything's normal over here.
Yeah.
Have you guys been down to the ICE building? Oh, we don't go down there. And that was a local news station just trying to downplay what was going on in their own
ICE needs to
state.
move their facility to the farmers
There
market.
you go. Yeah. So that all the liberals going to the farmer's market will
Get
be in
flowers and
and bullets.
and
You know,
that's at Publix.
Yeah.
it's so hilarious. But no, I remember reading something. It was pretty recently about how the Revolutionary War it was the Revolutionary War, where a lot of it was just these little skirmishes here and there. So for a lot of people, they weren't. It was exactly this, right? Yeah. It was these skirmishes that are just kind of spread out and around. People are dying, but it's not this big war that everyone's like bought into and, you know, a constant, like a battle line drawn. It was just wherever one of the sides could gain advantage, there would be, you know, fights that would take place. So that's an interesting way to look at that. That is what is going on right now. It's not this formal war, front lines, people are going at each other, but it still is just mysterious how a whole bunch of people don't see what it is, because this is a war. This kind of behavior that we're seeing from the left, that we've seen since Trump's first term, and even the language. Have you guys seen those stats? I'm sure you have. I didn't look at them right before coming on. I should have. Isn't it like my memory says something like 68% of those on the left say it's acceptable to kill a political enemy in some cases. In some form, it is acceptable.
Yes, if
nearly
they're speaking
70% of the left. So that's war zone territory. That's not normal. Not in this culture.
So if we're sovereign states, can we like wall off these states and just let them have at themselves? They can let the people out who want out. And
I totally.
Just a thought.
Hey, look, I think we all need to come up with a place that all of us can move at once and just take over all the government and just run like a happy state. Yeah. Right? Because there is nowhere else to go. But of course, we all know what will happen then. The lazy people will flood in. Although if it's a conservative area, we just don't have any social services except for we take care of each other. Mm-hmm. Like the way things used to work before government decided that they would supplant the family and the community, and people stopped taking care of each other as a result, and everything turned to corruption. You know, I don't know.
But as soon as their state imploded, then they'd want federal to come rescue them.
Oh, of course, we know. We know that's where this is going.
It's a good thing God's in charge.
I know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to work out of this.
He's like, you can't.
Yeah, no. I tell people, you think we're saving this? We're not saving this. We keep doing everything that we can.
Right.
We're not saving this. Just understand that. And one of my friends the other day in this conversation, he said, but we're told that the Constitution will hang by a thread. And I said, whoa, Kent, hold on a minute. Do we live in a constitutional republic right now? Look at what was going on under Biden. We have zero constitutional protections if the wrong guy becomes president. We aren't living in a constitutional republic. It's already gone, my friend. We don't save this. It gets saved. It's just not by us.
Mm-hmm.
Or it gets restored. I don't know.
So kind of walk through how you got into working for Greg Hughes and
Yeah.
Mike Lee. Then obviously you decided to run for Senate.
Yes. Yeah, because we need good options. So let's see. So I had done a lot of writing all over the country for federally elected people and in various campaigns and such. I worked with political consultants who do a lot of stuff. And so, and at one point, I did some stuff with Greg. It was the last term. No, it was his first term when he was running for speaker. So he was speaker for 2 terms. He was running that first time. So you think about it, you filed during the legislative session to run, and then you don't have a lot of time before convention. So if you are already in office, if you're an incumbent, you don't have a lot of time for
You have to work around campaign at the same time.
And you cannot actually raise any money during the legislative session.
Right.
So it's hard. And you have all these responsibilities. You can't be out campaigning. So he had a challenger who was a formidable challenger that year. And he asked me, I don't do campaigns. Actually, I hate campaigns. But he asked me if I would run his campaign. And I'm like, tell me what to do. I'll do it, because he knew a lot of things had to be done while he was in session. So I did that. He won. This was pre-SB 54. So he had to win at convention to avoid a primary. And
those were the days.
I know. And he just barely did. This guy ran a good race. And anyway, so then he ran for speaker, became speaker. And there was a new department anyway, I'm getting into way too many details. But regardless, when he became speaker, he brought me on along with another guy. And had us kind of set up a new department that offered some support to legislators. There'd been nothing like that existed before. It had been funded by the previous leadership, right? So it was already in place. The expectation is that this would already take place. So he brought me in, and this guy named Chuck, who had been at the Deseret News for almost 30 years. So we came in, set this department up. I will tell you, I even feel like all of that. We were lean and mean, and even that has like expanded and exploded and become nothing recognizable to like what we did. Now it's just a big bureaucracy that with very little oversight. So anyway, it was not that. It was a handful of us, and we were both older. And so this wasn't like, we're not like trying to use this for our advantage. We were both in a good place financially. Like, this isn't something we needed, right? Mm-hmm. I'll say that. So it's different than a lot of the young people who come in and are always trying to climb a ladder. That isn't what existed then at that time. So we came in, I worked for him until I knew that he was not going to run for speaker again. So I did a lot of that was his first session, is when we beat back Obamacare Medicaid expansion. All the states were doing it. The Governor Herbert, had Healthy Utah. It's not Obamacare, it's Healthy Utah. Okay, yeah, that's Obamacare. And it was expanding it to a population that refuses to work even part-time. It was mostly made up. It was like 90+% of that population is young, unmarried men without dependent children who refuse to work part-time. The governor came in with his Healthy Utah plan. He was ready to go. The Senate was ready to go, and the House was close. Hughes comes in as speaker, and we're like, number one priority. This is not going to happen. He was very effective. I did all the research for it and created the talking points. His chief of staff, Greg Hartley, was also really important in all of that. And we worked with a number of organizations, got great data. And by the time we were done, the House did not pass it. But it went on the ballot a couple years later at the same time as pot. Oh. So guess what? You know how to get people out? Free pot, free health care.
Sign me up.
So that was awesome. I was with him until I knew that he was going to run for governor. And I wasn't interested in, I had gone and worked there to help him. I wasn't interested in staying. And so I left that summer and went to work for Mike Lee. He was the only other politician I really wanted to work for. And so went to work for him. I was there for a number of years and then left after almost 4 years with Mike to work for an organization. It was a nonprofit.
Did you work with Rob Axon at the time?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were both working for Mike Lee at the time.
Yep. We were both there the whole time. He was still there when I left. He had been there. That was his first real job out of college, was with Mike. So I left. Then there were a number of, after COVID, it scared a lot of business people. You cannot be doing this, right? The way the government was coming in, shutting things down. There were a number of mostly tech guys who put together an organization called Freedom Front and asked me to run that. And we worked on issues of individual liberties and free markets. So we helped on the no vaccine passport stuff that was headed up by, I think, Kristen Chevrier, who runs the Health Freedom Organization and is now in the state legislature.
Yeah, funny thing about Kristen Chevrier, she was actually my next door neighbor growing up.
Oh, was she?
Friends with my parents.
She has done amazing stuff. And the timing of her being in the state legislature right now with Bobby Kennedy, with everything that she worked on, it's all been the health stuff. And for now, her to be in the legislature and be able to push some of that legislatively while being on the inside is amazing. But so I got to know her just up at the legislature because we were always fighting on the same side of the same issues. So when I worked for Freedom Front, we did a lot of that. We were a nonprofit, and we did some of that work. Our focus was all about educating the public on these issues, because that was a wake-up call to the guys who founded that organization. You cannot have government agents coming in and shutting down businesses and telling them what their people have to wear on their faces when they're a tech company or, this isn't food production or something, right? So I did that, and I left that job when I ran. The biggest issues that when I left, we were working on election integrity stuff. The biggest issues that we were focused on, we really did wrap up. It was the health stuff and the keep government out of business as much as possible. And when I left, they're still around, but they don't do as much as they do when I was there. But I hope that they'll continue working on a lot of those things. So I left to run for Senate, and that was a great experience. It's funny because a number of the
Pulling that up here just so everybody can see it. So she's running here for Senate back in 2024.
Okay. I can't get a picture taken because I changed my hair non-stop. It's long. It's super short. It's kind of short. It's long. I don't know.
So it says Carolyn Phippen, the executive director of Freedom Front of Utah, an advanced group focusing on individual rights in the free market, announced her campaign at Draper Historic Park on Wednesday afternoon. She cast herself in opposition to Democratic President Joe Biden and other politicians in a press release announcing that campaign. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you decided to run against Curtis.
Yes, he was not in at the time. We all knew he was probably getting in, and I knew that would be not a great scenario. And, the funny thing is, though, after that race, there are people, I run the Women's Republican Club of Salt Lake, and our attorney on the club is Brent Hatch. And we ran against each other, and we became great friends through that experience. And I never thought that would happen. He is not his dad, let's be clear. But it is interesting, the relationships that you form with many of the people.
That's what I've heard echoed over now. Trevor Lee, Carrie Ann Lisenby, just the relationship.
How about Staggs? Did you build a relationship with Staggs at all?
No, that would be a no. So I do not want to get into that. I will just say I have a massive aversion to lying. And when people are not sincere and honest, I really have trouble tolerating them. That's all I'm going to say. So
He got his endorsement from President Trump and then from Charlie Kirk, who came into town. And
it's true. You pay a lot of money for those. You do. You do.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, second Charlie Kirk came into town, that was over. Until we got to convention, SB 54 took over and put Curtis in.
Yep. That's exactly right. And we all knew that's how it was going to go. That if you didn't have somebody who could take Curtis on head to head in a primary, because we have SB 54, it's the reality. I've hated it since the start. I think it's completely unconstitutional. The party should not be governed by the state when it comes to how they select their candidate, even if the state is paying. I'm sorry. And
even if the state is 80% Republican and think they're in charge of the Republican Party for some reason.
That's right. No, that they should have no constitutional ability to govern how any private organization selects who represents them. But the reality is that's what we have. And so you have to have a candidate who can take on somebody like John Curtis. And we did not get that. We didn't get it. And I will tell you, Curtis knew it that night. The best case scenario for him was for Hatch to not come out and for me to not come out. That was the best case scenario. And he knew it. And he told people that. So you've got to, right now, while we're in this situation, there were 9 people in that race. Had we not had SB 54, those numbers would have been different, right? People would have made different choices about how they run their campaigns if that's all you have, right? But also, I do think it's interesting.
Well, Cox wouldn't be in there either if it wasn't for SB 54.
No, he would not. He would not. But what I tell people, we want it gone, but we've got to deal with the hand we've been dealt. Number one, face it, it's what you got. And at the same time, figure out how to change it in a way that you can actually change it. Because we have a lot of people screaming about stuff but no path forward to change.
We don't have any teeth in the Senate. I mean, we could pass it in the House, but it would never in a million years get to the Senate.
Correct.
I think 65% of the Senate
to change it?
All in the Senate because of SB 54.
So how do you make a difference right now?
It's not enough for the public to understand SB 54 versus
that's
caucus.
An issue.
But
that's not the only way you
ask people about what a caucus is, and half of them don't even know what it is.
That's true. That's true.
We have a very, very undereducated population in Utah.
It's not Utah. It's everywhere. Yeah. This is what happens when you live in luxury.
We're fat, happy, and blessed here. Yeah. And so the senior citizens alone that just are so blind to our life is great. Yeah, your life's great.
Yep.
And he's really nice. So we like that he's nice.
Yep. Or I know that name. Mm-hmm. Just look even at judicial retention races. That's one of the big things that
but that's going to change this year, right? The judicial, there's
not
a couple
the retention.
Well, they're putting
out the rubrics on their voting records. And
well, wait, who's putting that out?
The state is. Carolyn Phippen put that law out there in the past.
So that we could look at their voting record.
Okay, I need to talk with her because I don't think it's what we're looking at. I've got to talk to her and see what that was. You don't know what number that was, do you? There is not full transparency on this.
No, they put together it's not full transparency. It's a rating system that they're putting out on the ballot.
An independent
rating system on each.
Okay, I don't trust independent anything because our independent redistricting committee is liberals.
She put it together, so it was her committee.
I know, but she won't be the one who decides who's on the committee. She just decides who chooses them.
Yep.
So, okay, I have to talk to her because we are the women.
It's not even who decides who chooses the judges. It's who what information they're going to put on the ballot about the judge.
Right. No. Yeah. I'm saying she can say who chooses the people for the committee.
Yep.
But
I think
you can
Heidi
say an entity can do that. Are you sure that's not an upcoming bill? Because I've already met with some senators.
No, I did think it was an upcoming. I can go.
I've met with
she
some
said she's already got signatures for them. Enough people to support it to pass it.
Okay,
It hasn't
but
already
but
passed.
it hasn't passed.
I think it has, but maybe I'm not.
If she's
I didn't
saying-
think it had.
If she's saying she already has the support, okay, because I've already started talking to the Senate about judicial transparency. That we have 2 issues in the Women's Republican Club of Salt Lake that we're focused on this next year. That is one,
Cool.
and we're working with 2 different groups. One is legislators. I will tell you, the Sheriff's Association has had a bill for 3 years. 3 years that they can't get anywhere. I think this year's the year. People are mad. I think the Charlie Kirk thing changes everything. I think some of these crimes that we're seeing in other states where people are let go, we don't have that degree of corruption here, but we got problems, right?
Sure.
And we have judges whose outlook does not reflect the values of the state in which they serve. Like,
Not even on
not
a
at
Supreme
all.
Court. Our Supreme Court's got to go.
That's right. So
Because they've been sitting on the abortion law for years and won't even take it up.
That's outrageous, right? That's outrageous. So we have to have transparency. We also need, I'll talk to Carrie Ann because I have not met with anyone in the House on this, only the Senate, but I have Senate leadership saying they want to do something here. One member of leadership who I've talked to, and I have another senator who says he'll run it. And so I will connect with Carrie Ann because we have to have transparency on
She says she's got the whole support of the Senate because the Senate is, even though most of them are in there because of SB 54, I mean, they still all want the abortion bill to go through, and there and a few other liberal.
Oh, no, this is the judicial thing.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
they've got a few other liberal judges that have done stuff against what they
Well, that's
wanted.
right.
And so
The-
now
the
they
rulings this
previously,
year?
well, the Senate's actually saying, well, previously we weren't asking about whether you're Republican supporting or Democrat supporting because we were trying to make it
Correct.
so it's clean. But he says now we're going to put it in there where
Oh,
we
on the
get to
judicial nominating committee?
additional nominating committee where they're actually going to put it in there that they can ask those
Okay.
questions to determine exactly what your background
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I want the judicial nominating committee. It was Kurt Cullimore, who I've been talking to about this bill, who he made a bunch of changes a few years ago to the judicial nominating committee, which, by the way, is constitutional. It's in the Utah Constitution. So we have very little wiggle room, but things that can be done. He made a bunch of changes and said we should have, in coming years, we will see better judges as a result of that, more representative judges as a result of that. But they changed the makeup of that committee. But here's the thing, when people go to elect, so are you saying that Carrie Ann's working on a bill where one of the things will be they will ask their political background, or is she working on a bill on the
No, she's working on a bill that actually takes the judge's history and
Just like
gives them
Albertus puts out that
ranking.
rubric so that
But he started talking about the
There's two things. So
okay,
the-
so they're different.
Carrie Ann Lesenby's looking on a ranking system to actually be on the ballot because no one knows how to vote for a judge.
correct.
And then there's the Senate who actually wants to put in that you're
The
able
question.
the questions that you're able to validate what side of the line they're on
Okay,
the party
perfect.
they're on.
Well, everyone will just become a Republican now,
Yeah.
right? That's how they do this game. So in
Well, that's
fact,
how we should have because it's the only way we're going to get any of our conservative
well,
laws to
but I
pass.
mean, that's
No.
how our caucuses are going. Is
Right.
I have all these people coming in, suddenly they're Republican.
that's what I'm saying. Democrats are just going to register as Republicans if they want to be a judge.
But we should be
it's
able to see
gotta
the
be-
record. How long have you?
Oh, that's true too. But when it comes to transparency, that's what I want. But I want a website. So I'm also working with an individual who is going to be helping an attorney who's going to be helping. Well, it's Bretton Hatch. Are you familiar with Federalist Society?
No.
So the Federalist Society is you can call it conservative, like constitution-based attorneys organization that helps vets judges and makes recommendations to Republican presidents for nominations. Okay. We have the current Supreme Court because of the Federalist Society. They saw 30 years ago, I don't know when they were founded, somewhere between 30 and 40 years ago, that the courts were going left. So they are based in D.C., and they are all about vetting these judges from an originalist perspective and making those recommendations. So if you are a Republican in the Senate or in the White House, and by the way, it used to be the bar that did all of this. Republicans won't even listen to the bar anymore. So this one group of attorneys changed that. Brent Hatch has been involved in that organization for 30 years. I think he still sits on the board of it. So I said to Brent, I said,
one of the things I learned growing up as a kid, and particularly in Scouts, was to be prepared. And particularly when it comes to my feet. You do not want to be out in a situation where your feet are incredibly uncomfortable and makes you absolutely miserable, makes the rest of the day absolutely miserable. So you have to go out there in the right equipment, whether that's hiking in the mountains, whether that's fishing on the stream, it's working out in your garden or out in the yard, or it's going out on the town or to the nearest rodeo in a nice pair of boots. You have to go out prepared so you look good, feel good, and most importantly, it is comfortable. Because again, there's nothing like being miserable walking around all day long. We want to introduce you to 3 different companies that are supporting this channel. We have Durango Boots, which provides the best Western wear and boots that money can buy. So you'll have the look, the feel that you want. There's also Rocky Boots for that great mountain wear, that hiking wear, and just getting out into nature and being prepared for what you're confronting. And then there's Mucky Boots or Muck Boots, which will provide the perfect waterproofing that you need for fishing, hunting, and again, getting out in the yard and working in the mud. These are great companies that supply a great pair of boots for you for any need, for any occasion. So again, go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen for any of these great sites, whether it's Western wear, whether it's the outdoor wear and getting up into the hills and the mountains, or whether it's muck wear that you need to be able to work around the garden or go fishing or hunting and not walk around it with wet feet. These are great products at great prices that will keep you perfectly comfortable all day at the same time that you're looking good. So trust these products, whether it's Durango, whether it's Muck Boots, or whether it's Rocky Mountain Boots or Rocky Boots, and go to those sites using the link in our description or QR code that's popping up on your screen. Again, the link in the description or QR code that's popping up on your screen, and support our channel.
There is a federal society in Utah. They meet, have lunches once a month and speakers, whatever. We need action. And here's what I would like you to work on is coming up with some of your good Federalist Society friends to put together a committee that will vet and make recommendations. And if you can't have a governor that will listen, or a Senate, I think we could get the Senate to listen because they are involved in the judicial nomination. They have to vote on the judicial nominations and approve them. If you can't get that, whatever, if they won't listen to you on your recommendations, just make it public. Have a Federalist Society Utah website that members of the public can go to, and they can see rankings and ratings of current judges, of judges that are coming up for nomination and all that. So they love the pressure. So for me, it's twofold. It's this piece with the Federalist Society driving good information, but also I want something coming from the state but again, I don't trust anyone at the state to do these rankings. And by the way, even the Libertas stuff and the heritage and everything, I literally have heard members of the legislature say, well, I know what bills they're tracking this year, so I got to vote in line with them on all these bills so that I get a high score. So you know what? If we're that immoral and dishonest and we're just gaming everything, we have a problem. So again, whenever you have these rubrics, it's touchy, but if you can have all of this information out there for the public to see, all of the cases and the rulings, we should be able to look that up on a state-based, centrally based system or website where we can look up every judge that we're voting on and a history.
Absolutely, because I think those things are a great tool. I mean, I don't base all my voting, but I will look at it and I'll tell my friends that are legislators,
oh yeah,
hey, how come you disagreed with Libertas on this bill? And I will, they'll tell me.
Yeah.
But they're probably tired of me calling them, help me with the judges. What about this?
Because everyone does it.
Yeah.
I get so many calls every year and I'm like, I got nowhere to go. I've asked so many people. And that's intentional. The judges don't want that information out there. They just want a lifetime appointment, guys.
Right? Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And so there's no history on it. No one knows who they are.
That's right. Don't you think we have the Utah bar? Don't you think that the bar, if they thought that it was important for the public to know what their judges were doing, don't you think the bar would have had something years ago, a website that we could all access?
Well, the bar's controlled by these very same judges. So.
Of course.
So, yeah, no.
That's how you become a judge.
Yeah.
By being in the right rooms and at the right parties, even in the state of Utah. I have actually been told that in the state of Utah, if you're not, if you're an attorney focused on your family and you aren't going to the wine and cheese parties, which the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are not largely going to, chances are you're not going to be making it through as a judge in most of these situations anyway.
Right.
Because the people who have influence with the bar, which is why making a change on the Judicial Nomination Committee matters, because I don't remember what it looked like before and what it looks like now, but I think the bar had a seat on that. Well, what does the bar have to do? They weren't elected. Nobody elected them to make decisions about who should be representing us as judges. I get that you're a legal society, but so what? Anyone can form a society and represent whoever they want, but that the people don't vote for you. And by the way, did you see it came out in USAID in all the Doge stuff that they were getting tons of money, the bar nationally, which guaranteed they fed down to local. It was federal money was propping up that they are not, so many people have left their membership in the bar. They're not paying or they don't support it. I don't know if you have to be, I don't think you have to be a member in order to be an operating attorney. But what I was told was it's fewer than 40% of attorneys who even support the bar anymore. So the only way they're even around is all this federal money that was flowing.
And it's all these young attorneys coming out of school that they get to right away. They're so woke.
But look, yes, I think we had a partial generation of woke, and then they killed Charlie Kirk. And we're still going to have a bunch of woke, especially among women. It's just a fact. Yeah, it's just a
Do you
fact.
think this is going to affect what happened with Charlie here? Do you think it's making a change on Cox? Do you think he'll change at all? I was just impressed with his press
I'm
conference.
not naive.
I've not been.
I will not
Cox fan.
judge whether anybody can change. I have been around politics long enough that I don't trust the words out of anybody's mouth, especially when they have a very long history that is not in line with the words they speak. But who am I to judge? You know, someone can have a revelation and change.
Yeah, his speech was very impressive, very good representation of the state. But whatever he's doing up there,
have
not
hope.
necessarily following what we want him to do.
And you've given me hope saying that. What are other great things that can be happening up him in the future?
Oh, gee, I really think a lot is, right? Have you seen all of this about all over the country? It happened before Charlie Kirk. Where did it start? I'm trying to think of when I first started hearing about it. It was a few months ago, and then it just ramped up under Charlie Kirk that people are going to church.
Yeah.
So many people are going to church. And Catholic churches, it was from some Catholics, I heard it back east, that it is, but I can't remember what the thing was that kind of triggered a lot of it. But every one of these big bad things that happens, it just drives people to say, well, I'm not finding truth here. There's more to life than this, right? And by the way, we've ripped off opportunity for a whole generation of young people. We've ripped it away with all of these crappy policies. They can't afford homes. DEI has made it difficult for white men to get jobs, right? All of these things, people are realizing that maybe government isn't the answer. Government has screwed up absolutely everything.
Well, it's an extreme polarization because you got a certain group of people that
I know.
they are so socialist, so sold on that thing. That's just all they believe in now. And then you've got the people that are going right, that are going now way right, and not necessarily the bad right, like the media wants to lay out, the extreme right, but significantly more conservative, significantly more God-fearing,
Yeah.
and actually demonstrating a lot more values, actually speaking out loud about what they believe in, because it's been for so long that's been so quiet, so hushed. You don't talk about God, you don't talk about values, you don't talk about anything in the open public. People are actually speaking about it out loud and in public and not being afraid or ashamed of it. Even the news anchors will go on for 30 minutes about their own belief in God. And I've seen that on Fox and Newsmax and a few others where they wouldn't even discuss their own religion at all. All of a sudden, everybody's discussing it. So it's where there's a definitive split. Last week we were talking about it's a definitive split of the wheat and the tares, right? That's spoken about in the Bible. And that division is getting wider and wider and wider, because the extremists on the left that want the violence, want the socialism, they're becoming even more and more extreme and more violent, more socialist. And then on the right, we're becoming more outspoken, more God-fearing, more belief in
We even had our guest
good principles.
Let us know. He says, I just went back to church the first time. I don't know what congregation, but he said they just were so welcoming and there was so much love. And
so that middle ground, not much there anymore. So a lot of these, I'm interested to see in 2028 when we come up with the presidential election how the swing states are, because the middle, there's not very many people in the middle. That gray area that's always people wanted to float in the middle between left and right. Even the middle area is starting to divide and either going left or going right. And so I think the swing states are going to be less and less swing states. We're going to start seeing states that are actually just solid red or solid blue, period, into story type of thing. And that's where the census is going to be huge, whether they count illegals, don't count illegals.
Okay, hold on,
because
though.
That's going to determine the elections right now is just sheer people, because they're not going to have the swing voters anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I have not, I saved a video that I came across this morning. There apparently, this last head of the census last time around, it was bigger than just counting illegals. So when the citizenship question was asked, he's the guy who said, no, we can't ask that question. But I need to dig into it, because what I read was not, they were just using a bunch of, it was like word salad. And I'm like, I got to dig into this. They said in this post that I saw that there was an algorithm that was applied that distorted it even further. What? So I don't, they were, how? I don't, that's what I have to dig into.
I wouldn't doubt it, because they distorted the numbers in the actual election. I mean, the machines were actually changing numbers, flipping votes. We all know the massive fraud going in there.
You can do stuff.
There's no oversight on a census. And so California numbers, New York numbers, Chicago numbers could be way skewed.
Yes.
Way skewed on a dime, on a flip of a computer key.
Yes. Yeah, they said there was a specific algorithm that was applied. But again, they talked kind of a lot of gibberish. So I'm like, I'm going to look into this more. But they did include a clip from a guy who was not talking gibberish, who said the same thing. So I'm going to look him up and find his information. He works, I can't remember, he works for an organization that looked into this.
I'm excited to hear.
So I will, I have to see, because I'll do a video on it.
Well, the left is terrified of losing their power. Terrified. They've already lost.
I know.
We've done this over and over again in all these podcasts. They've lost the House, lost the Senate, lost the Supreme Court. They're losing their deep state because Trump is firing them left and right, letting them go. They've lost their funding because didn't matter if they had the House or the Senate, or they didn't have any of those things. They still had their secret funds coming out of USAID, coming out of the SEC, coming out of the Defense Department, Education Department. They could still filter.
And now the left has shut down the government.
All those.
Oops. Brilliant.
Well, they could filter all these funds to whatever program they wanted to, because they still had their deep state employees that would still do whatever they wanted them to do.
Yeah.
But Trump's firing the deep state. He's curbing the funds. So the left is that cornered dog, that cornered lion that's just completely losing their power. So now you're looking at Texas just had their congressional districts redone, picking up a couple houses. So now you got Newsom out there in California completely freaking out about that. And he's trying to redistrict his House to get rid of Republicans out there. And then he says, well, Texas is doing it, so I'm going to do it. The problem is if you look at the electorate in Texas, and they came out with the numbers of the number of Republicans that are in Texas versus the number of Democrats that are in Texas, and then compare that to direct representation. How many Democrat congressional people have to Republican congressional, and there's a slight lead on the Republican side because it was like 63 or 64% of Texas is Republican. It's heavy Republican. I think it might even be greater than that. And then the congressional House seats, it was like 70% of the congressional House seats were Republican, maybe 30% were Democrat. So it was slightly skewed on the Republican side, but
pretty proportional. Which, by the way, you don't have to do legally.
No, you don't have to do that. But in California, it's just the opposite. So you look at California, and they're saying that about 57% of California was Democrat, and like 43% of it was Republican. So it was California's Democrat, but by only like 7%. And then you looked at the congressional House seats, and that's where it was. That was like 78% or something like that was Democrat in the congressional seats, and only like 32% was Republican. So it was already skewed heavy Democrat by 20 points, right? And the Newsom's proposal would push that so it'd be 93% skewed Democrat in the congressional seats, and Republicans would only have a 7% representation on the Republican side.
Do you think
the actual electorate is a 57-43?
Is that the one? I had seen a couple people post some things on X. It must be on the ballot, right?
Yeah, well, they've collected signatures to get it onto the ballot. Yeah.
Well, people are saying that they started receiving their ballots this week.
Yeah.
And that if you vote no, that you don't want the redistricting plan, you know, the holes in the envelope, the no shows up so they can toss your ballot. People are concerned that are they putting up pictures? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen 2 different pictures.
Wow.
And if it's yes, it doesn't show, but as long as you know it's
But if they're that desperate where they're willing to skew the electorate that much, do you not think that they're going to skew census numbers when those pop up?
Yeah.
There's going to be machines, just like the electric voting machines that are switching votes or ballot dumps in the last minute, that they're going to have all of a sudden census reports coming in the last minute. They're going to skew the census.
Why would you not if you think you can get away with it? And they have the left has always gotten away with their crimes. So has much of the right, to be perfectly fair, right? We have a lot of Republicans who are part of the Uniparty who do the same kind of garbage, I'm sure, at the federal level. So I actually wouldn't call them the right. They're part of the Uniparty. But maybe that's not fair to call them left, although the ideals are leftist. The raping and pillaging of
they're not part of MAGA, that's for sure. They're not.
Yeah. No. It's not. I kind of differentiate with, I'm a constitutionalist.
Well, the Tea Party moved into the MAGA movement, so it's...
Yeah. And a whole bunch of Democrats, actually, became MAGA. It's nobody... I had friends before the election... You know, we could do better. But the reason we lost to Biden was because of Trump. Trump's just the problem. And I would always tell them, and I love it when people tell me they're centrist. I have some good friends who are centrists, and I'm always like...
You're not a centrist.
Okay. Well, I always say, I only ask them this once, but when I have a conversation with someone who tells me that, my question is, can you always, or they'll say they're moderates or centrists, can you, like, again, I go back to principles. Can you give me your principle, like, outline for government? Like, a position, if you call yourself a moderate or a centrist, you have to have a set of principles, right? No?
I wish I'd talked to you yesterday.
You know what they always say? Well, no, I just care about, like, getting things done and having government function.
I just care about people. I want people to get taken
we
care
just
of.
need to, like, there shouldn't be, we should just all be here
we all
in the
just get
middle.
along.
Yeah, just get along.
And I'm like, well, but here's the thing. They do think, and you do need people who aren't so ideological but know how to run things, right? I read a book, I think it was Revolt of the Public by Martin Gurry. I think it was that one, where he talked about, you have people on the right. I hate far right because a lot of people we call far right are not. It's constitutionalist and then leftist. But we have people on both sides who they are real. Most people kind of out there, very ideological, are not great at like running stuff. They care about the ideas and they would not be great at keeping government going and being effective. Fair, right? So some people can do both. Most people you're kind of one or the other. You're a good manager. So I think centrists are more the good manager type. They're the kind who they want government running efficiently and effectively, and ideology, they may lean one way or the other, but they care more about government just functioning. And you do need those people if you want government to function. But just don't take political advice from them. That's all. And don't let them vote. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, part of this problem is, let's get into the whole immigration problem, the problem with ICE. We've stated many times in this podcast that the whole point there was an immigration problem is because the left wants to import their voters. That's all it's been about. They care about one thing and one thing only, and that's power. Power and influence, control. Yeah. They want a single-party state. They want socialism. They want to phase out our constitutional republic. They want to phase out capitalism. And we get people fighting us on that all the time in our comment section. Well, that's not their goal. It's been their goal from the get-go.
I know.
They want to phase all that out. And the only way they can do it is to make sure that Republicans never win another election ever again.
Yeah.
And so they have to make it so skewed to the left that it is virtually guaranteed that they win every single election. The only way they can do that is by sheer numbers. That means the census records. That means importing their voters.
Yep.
And when they import the voters, they've got to buy the vote. And so how they do that, they start handing out free health care, free this, free that, in-state tuition, what Newsom's doing. That's why Newsom's handing out in-state tuition to all illegals, free food stamps to illegals. And then we get everybody in our comments section, even on the news, maybe I've seen the left comes out, well, it's illegal. It's against the law for illegals to have food stamps, to have insurance. I'm like, it's on the law, but nobody's enforcing it.
Yes.
I've got hundreds of comments in my comment section about that's not true, that's not true. Well, we're going to prove it's true right now.
Yeah.
But first off, we're going to talk about what's going on with ICE right now and trying to deport everybody. So this is what's going on in Portland right now.
The arrival of 200 Oregon National Guard members now training at Camp Rylea in Warrenton along the Oregon coast. We've learned the troops are prepping for several days before they will be in Portland. Good evening and thanks for joining us for Queen 6 News at 11. I'm Elizabeth Din. Those troops were set to take to city streets today, protecting federal facilities like the ICE building in South Portland. Ariel Yakabazi is live there tonight. Ariel, I hear a little bit of yelling near you, the demonstrations that are driving what president's move, of course. What are you seeing and hearing on the ground right there?
Hey, Liz, things have gotten pretty tense in the last couple of minutes here. There are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle getting upset with each other. There was quite a bit of a confrontation just a couple of moments ago. People are pretty upset. Pardon me, I've been a little bit startled.
For a second. So notice the guy in the Freedom shirt, and then there's a guy over here. So within a few minutes of this, and this is a local news station that did this, within a few minutes of this, those two actually get into a fight. And that fight is like everywhere now because the left guy, the guy over here is the guy that starts it. This guy in the Freedom shirt is an actual influencer. He's been all over news everywhere, and he's got like 1 million followers on YouTube and everything, and he was actually on, I think it was on Fox News Live for a couple of those takes that they were interviewing him. But this guy got mad at him. The Freedom guy, this guy in the white shirt, punches him. The other guy falls down to the ground because he's not much of a fighter. Freedom guy, the influencer is. Influencer gets arrested, and they show that a bunch of other podcasters show him getting arrested, and he's streaming it live, his arrest and everything like that. That's just,
my gosh.
that's everywhere now, just so everybody knows what's going on here.
Going on, but we've got Portland police surrounding. You can see ICE agents as well on top of the building. You know, things are getting pretty loud here, so I'm gonna just toss to my piece here for what we got so far, latest on the ICE facility here. Let's listen. You're looking at video captured by Coin6 cameras of the peak of protests in South Portland from early June, when Portland police say they made several arrests and spent nearly $438,000 in overtime for officers monitoring any unlawful activity outside the ICE facility. Remember, because of Oregon's sanctuary city status, PPB does not help with immigration enforcement. Here's video from Tuesday night. It's when DHS claims more than 100 rioters, quote, stormed the city facility, and they arrested 6 people.
I have not heard about a riot in Portland since 2020.
At the same time, Portland police told us they did not declare a riot. And up until this week, their officers hadn't made any arrests.
I don't see the need for the National Guard at this time. I really believe that we've got a handle on it.
Just a few blocks away, people at Elizabeth Carruthers Park did their midweek shopping at the popular farmers market there. Many asking us if we were there to capture the, quote, war-ravaged Portland.
It's kind of a joke to me, honestly. It feels silly. Like, I heard the military was coming, I was like, for what? Yeah.
I think it's trying to create a problem or make a problem when there isn't one.
They say Portland's place in the national headlines is surprising, given what they see every day.
It's not that bad. Community over everybody else. Who keeps us safe? Nobody else is going to keep us safe but the people, and coming together at farmers markets and in community spaces and protesting is what we need to do.
Well, the funny thing about it is the news lady was only on site for like 2 or 3 minutes, saw the violence was going on there, and quickly kicked it over to the news pieces she had recorded
You're right.
a long time before, because she did not want to be there.
You're right.
And then the Portland mayor's saying, hey, there's no violence up here, but they won't go down in front of the ICE facility. None of these people go down in front of the ICE facility. And they're all complaining, well, they spent $430,000 in overtime. On what? None of your officers are going over there and defending anybody at the ICE facility. So what are they spending the $430,000 again on extra overtime? Because they're not defending the ICE agents.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you set up a farmer's market outside of the ICE facility, all
what I'm
peace
saying.
would reign.
Yes.
See, they still
Yes.
didn't see it, though. That's where you were off. You thought maybe the farmer's market people would see it if it were in front of the ICE facility. Farmer's markets solve all, my friend.
Yeah. Solve the problem right
It
there.
all ends with the farmer's market. She said it.
We've got answers.
Well, everybody they interviewed is saying, like, I don't know what they're talking about.
I know.
And I guarantee not a single person they've interviewed have been down
Right.
to the ICE facility and stood in front of that
Well,
thing.
yeah, they're having the interviews in a totally different area of town and acting like, gosh.
Oh,
no
just
one
like the
even knows
BLM
what's going
protests.
on. Yeah.
It was only like a 4 or 5 block range downtown. And
Right.
outside of that, it was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing going on here. I just don't go downtown, right?
Well, that's what they're going to say. They'll remove the ICE facility, and we're at peace here.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Chicago, sources telling Fox News police there were told to actually stand down on helping ICE agents who were in danger. Mike Tobin has this story for us, all the details. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, we've got a lot of rank-and-file Chicago police officers behind the scenes telling us that they are outraged that the stand-down order went out to them after federal agents were attacked. The order appears to have come through a communication from the chief of patrol over the communication through the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading, "No units will respond to this." Multiple police sources have confirmed to us the message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
I've heard the audio.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, at 39th Place in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Place in Kedzie.
In an official statement, CPD says officers did respond, right in quote, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain safety and traffic control. Now, chaos was triggered when, according to federal prosecutors, 2 individuals used their cars to ram the cars of Border Patrol agents. One of the agents shot a driver of one attacking vehicle. Those attackers are now charged federally. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the facts need to play out.
You know, here's
We
the
don't
thing.
have a lot of facts. Remember, these are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
300 Illinois National Guardsmen have now been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago. What you're looking at right now is video of the scene that triggered that particular radio call. Tear gas and pepper balls were deployed into the crowd after agents said they were attacked. But meantime, as I just mentioned, 300 Illinois National Guardsmen have been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago to protect federal personnel and property. Also, Texas National Guardsmen, 400 of them, have been called up for deployment to both Illinois, to Portland, and an undetermined location.
You hear that communications person, just to be clear,
Right.
we're not sending anybody.
This is Uriah Kennedy from God and Country, and I've been fishing since I was just a little boy. My father used to get me out there and teach me how to tie little fishing knots, and whether it was creek fishing in a stream or we were out trolling on a lake, there's nothing more beautiful than reeling in a big bass or big trout. As fathers, we want our children to have the greatest experiences when out on the water, and we ourselves do not want to get skunked when we're out there fishing. So it is always best to have the best equipment, the best lures possible to give you the greatest percentage of success. We all have used and know who Rapala is, one of the greatest companies ever to create lures for fishing. We would ask you that you would go to our description and click on the link in our description or on the QR code that's coming up on your screen. Support the channel by going through our link or through our QR code and making all your fishing purchases at Rapala. There is nothing better than pulling in that big fish, and you can do that through any of the lures that you'll find up on Rapala. There is nothing like the quality that you will find at Rapala. From all their lures that will definitely get you some good hits on that line, to any type of tools, knives, clothing and apparel, anything you'll possibly need to have a great afternoon, a great day out there on the lake or out on the river. Trust Rapala for all those fishing needs. And again, you have to go through our description, our code in the description, or the QR code that's going to be popping up here on your screen. Again, support this channel by going to Rapala through the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on your screen. Well, she's making sure the officers understand they're not sending
Horrible.
nobody over there.
Oh, I know.
And then you have the governor defaming the ICE agent, saying they, and he won't say them out loud, they killed somebody.
Right.
Like,
The truth has come out, but he
The
doesn't
truth
say
is-
what the truth is.
Here's my thing, too. I've got a couple problems with those clips because we have had leftists, it's been at least 15 years, that we have had blue cities say, and states say, we will not cooperate with federal authorities when it comes to removing illegal immigrants. That's a federal government responsibility. Well, first of all, it doesn't mean you can't help them, but they've taken that stance consistently. This is a completely, and I think that's an immoral stance. You need to cooperate with federal government and keeping your own people safe, by the way, and keep them from being flooded by illegal immigrants. This is a step further, saying, and by the way, we will not protect people being assaulted or attacked within our city if we don't like your politics or your job.
that's what they're saying.
That is what they're saying.
Because there's one thing to be an officer to go out and actually facilitate and help an ICE agent arrest somebody or give them information to have somebody arrested. But when you're refusing to actually go over there and protect
Protect
the building,
human.
protect the humans, the actual agents themselves. He says, I don't care if you get killed. I don't care if you get shot
That's
or
right.
hit or not my problem. You guys
Public-
are on your
He's
own.
like, those aren't my people.
Public
You're on your
safety is your job. And somebody and I guarantee you these commands are coming from the mayor or the governor. Like, I don't know. They're coming from politicians. But that isn't okay. And that is completely immoral. And we will not have a functioning society if we have police
that are selecting who they
who are selecting who they're going to protect. And here's the thing. We've had DAs doing this for years. Thank you, George Soros, for funding all this, right? Saying, oh, we're not going to prosecute certain cases or we'll go easy on certain criminals. And it's all based on leftist ideology, whoever aligns with them or who is, fits their DEI definitions. But again, now it's moving to the police in a totally different way. We will only protect those who we like.
So take this to the next step, right? So now they're not protecting the police or not protecting, the police aren't protecting ICE agents who are arresting people. And they're not even arresting people in front of the cops. They're just saying, just stand out, just protect the building. Just keep them back from the building so our ICE agents can go in and out of the building without having rocks and stuff thrown at them. That's all we're asking you to do. We're not saying go on a raid with us or go arrest people. Just keep the protesters back. That's all we're asking you to do. Keep us from getting hurt. They should very well do that. So if they're not willing to do that for the ICE agents, okay, let's say a huge conservative population went out there and started protesting against the evil protesters, and then they started getting hurt. You're not going to go protect them?
No, they're not. They're going to arrest them for causing
They're going to arrest them, or they're just going to let them get hurt, right? And then it just ensues from there. And so you're not going to protect your own citizens because they're on the right. And then you get to the next level. I mean, we saw what happened in school board meetings where
that's right.
Parents were being targeted by the FBI for standing up against the school board meetings. It's slow little steps where it becomes more acceptable and more acceptable and more acceptable to where the other side becomes less and less human.
Yep.
Less and less people. Yep. The rhetoric becomes more and more evil, more and more violent from the rhetoric, which literally gives permission to those who are out there to enact the violence they're doing. That's why we get Charlie Kirk shot. That's why we had assassination attempt against Trump.
Yep.
Kavanaugh got shot at. I mean, all these things we have, whatever's happening in these ICE agents is going to increase as the permission gets out there more. And that mayor of Chicago or the governor of Chicago is verbatim what's happening because he literally says, the ICE agents killed them, meaning the ICE agents are evil. Then we got to stand up against the ICE agents.
Yes.
They shot them. We don't respect them. They're not supposed to be here. The way he intoned that literally gives those protesters permission to do what they're doing and eggs them on. And now they're going to take the next step. And if they do, the governor and the mayor is going to sit back. Well, not my problem.
That's exactly
I'm sorry when your officers got killed. I'm sorry when your conservative people got killed. They shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? And they'll blame it on them, saying, you shouldn't have been there. You brought this on yourself, which is what we saw with Charlie Kirk and saying that he's a misogynist, he's racist. He dug his own grave, right? We saw that all through everything. All over the place, that you dug your own grave. You brought this upon yourself. We're going to see this get wider and more violent.
Absolutely.
And it did down in Houston. So the last clip we want to show on this is this one.
Fox News obtaining exclusive access to the Dallas ICE facility where a gunman opened fire last week, killing 2 detainees. Video shows walls riddled with bullet holes after officials say the sniper was trying to target ICE agents.
You had rounds coming through multiple windows, I think 9 different windows that he shot through.
If one of the agents had been hit, it would have went right through their vest.
Absolutely. It would have gone through their vest, and we're very lucky that it did not, and that no one was hit.
Officials have identified the second detainee that was killed in last week's shooting as Miguel Angel Garcia Hernandez, a Mexican national in his early 30s.
If you had had an agent, an ICE agent, even accidentally kill that guy, or if that guy had died in the custody of an ICE agent for whatever, a drug overdose, let's say, or anything else, that would be headline news on every single mainstream site. But because it was a leftist protesting ICE who killed him, not a word. No. Fox is probably the only one covering that.
Yeah.
Well, they were the only one covering because they actually came out with a peer review. I think it was the Will King show that's on Fox there came out with numbers and trying to find out who covered the Houston incident and who's covering the Portland stuff and the Chicago stuff. And he said like NBC covered like 68 seconds worth and zero, literally not even a second on every other major media network. Wow. Not even a second was covered.
Wow.
And you've got somebody in Houston that was up on a building, and there's a longer video than that one. I couldn't find the longer video, but he said that they sprayed the entire building from one end of it down to the other, which is why they killed the two detainees that were in the breezeway there. I don't know how he didn't kill any officers in there, because in the longer video when Fox News went in there, they were showing holes in just filing cabinets. There's numbers of holes in the actual booze, the cubicles, those gray cubicles they have, just holes going through all the cubicles. They show
my heavens,
holes in chairs as it sprayed, because he was spraying armor-piercing rounds.
Oh, my heavens.
Oh, that's why I was going through
That's why I was going through everything. He was spraying armor-piercing rounds. And that's why he just mentioned on there that if an officer had gotten shot in the vest, it was still would have gone through, because it was armor-piercing rounds going throughout the entire building.
Oh, my heavens. That's just amazing that nobody else
died. It was just absolutely amazing. But nobody's covering it. Nobody cares. But that is what the rhetoric on the left is causing.
Yes.
And they're like, well, it was justified.
Yeah.
I literally, if you saw Pritzker, which is the governor there, in private, he's like, well, that was justified. Guarantee he'd say that in private. The Portland mayor probably saying the same thing. Well, they shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have been doing what they're doing.
Right.
They brought it upon themselves. But it's going to increase. It's going to go far beyond ICE agents. It's going to start going to conservative voices who are protesting. It's some leftist is going to spray bullets into a conservative protest, kill a bunch of people, and they're going to say, well, they shouldn't have been there.
Yep. There is the Protecting Women in Sports bill that Idaho passed. It was the first in the nation. And we had Barbara Ehart, who was the legislator who passed it, down to speak to us a couple weeks ago. And she said they've been planning. That case goes to the Supreme Court this term. And national groups have been planning a big deal in D.C. They're not going to hold it now because conservatives are afraid of being murdered for gathering in large gatherings, especially big name conservatives.
How do you get rid of the First Amendment?
That's right. That's right.
You know what I do like? On NFL games, ICE has bought commercial time.
Oh, really?
And it's a commercial for hiring. So they're offering what the pay is going to be and the bonus for hiring. But they just say,
they're double doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But then they're doing a promo on ICE and what it is. I'm like, that's fantastic. I don't know how they pulled that off, but I like it every time I see it.
Yeah. I know when they first started, they were saying that they do signing bonuses and all this stuff.
That's what they're saying.
Or so ago. They have been flooded with applications.
To me, the bravery of these.
Border Patrol went, once they start protecting the border,
then people want to do the job.
And they're more than just paper pushers, and they got flooded. Same with the military. I mean, military recruitment has gone sky high since Hegseth got in.
You just need a strong leader, a good
notice the problem here, though. So they're pulling in the National Guard. National Guard sitting outside of Portland, sitting outside of Chicago, both from Texas and from Illinois, cannot go in either one of those cities until the court ruling goes. It's the one judge stopped it for both cities. There was a judge in Portland and two different judges in Illinois that stopped it for both states. It's gone to both appellate courts, I guess is what they're calling, that oversee that, and it's there right now to see if they can let in. The Portland one, surprisingly, they got out of the hearing yesterday, and the judge is in deliberation. And if you watch the hearing, they just killed the defendants who are trying to keep the National Guard from going in there. And so think there were Trump appointed judges, and there was two Trump appointed judges, and then the other one was an Obama judge in the appellate court, in the appeals court. And all three of them, even the Obama one, is like, I don't see your argument here where it's not a riot, where it's not. They have to have it's got to be a insurrection. It has to meet those terms. He says, from what we're seeing, from the images we're seeing, the videos we're seeing, that it meets those standards.
Wow.
So it looks like it's going to go.
When do you think it would get resolved?
Trump's favor. They said they'd give them a couple of days, but and then the Chicago one, they're still in the hearings though. Meanwhile, while those two cities are preventing National Guard from going in, now you go down to Tennessee and you're looking at Nashville, which is the highest crime city in the country.
Is that where the
next to
fire
Chicago
is this morning?
And stuff like that. But they're actually already in because the governor and the mayor down there, Republican, are promoting them. They're actually showing meetings where Hegseth went down there, Nolan went down there, actually meeting with the cops. The cops are all saying, hey, we need all the help we can get. Cops are in full support. And they're already going out in the streets. And they said within the first few days, crime rate's already gone down.
Wow.
In Nashville. And you compare what's happening in Washington, D.C., what's happening in Nashville.
Yeah.
The problem is the rest of the country is going to have two examples of where it worked versus two examples where it didn't work, which is exactly what we saw during the election because people were trying to badmouth Trump, but he had already had a term. Biden had a term, and everybody was able to compare the two and say,
that's true.
This is kind of obvious because we can literally see what happened. This is going to backfire on the Democrats because they're going to have two examples where it's not being allowed and then two examples where it is being allowed.
Right.
Everybody in the planet is going to be able to compare those as long as you're watching social media, because if you watch mainstream media, they covered 0% of this.
Wow.
So big part of the shutdown is the Democrats are trying to get part of the Big Beautiful Bill rescinded, and they're trying to bring back in the items that were taken out of supporting illegal immigrants. And so the last thing we want to discuss here is there's a massive argument going out on our comments section, social media, everywhere. I've seen in multiple news reports where representatives from the left and the right in the House and in the Senate both coming out and said, well, we don't know what the right are talking about because illegals can't have insurance. They don't have these rights. And they are very, very careful in how they select their words because it's anybody that is not just here illegally, but is
well, they were given illegal legal status.
That's the word they use. They say they don't. It's not a legal status. This is are not giving a status. Anybody that's not given a status, the second you come in and you're given a hearing date or a piece of paper or anything like that, then you have a status. And so if you look at all the interviews, that's all they say is anybody that doesn't have a status obviously can't get it. But what they don't realize is during the Biden administration, they passed a ruling there that allowed anybody given that paperwork to have a status, and millions were given that status. Right. And that's what they want. And then outside of that, you've got people who are still saying, well, outside of that, illegals are still not getting it. So here we got proof positive. Let's talk about each one of these. This is from the Economic Policy Innovation Center. 1.5 million non-citizens receiving food stamps. And we know it's bigger than that.
Right.
Total of $4.2 billion in food stamp benefits programs going to illegals. And I can attest to this. I've said multiple podcasts before that. I mean, my wife's Latin. We got a lot of friends who are Latin, and we see it in person. There's a lot of people out there that are illegal in this country that have food stamp cards. Yep. There's people out that are actually getting paid to teach illegals how to get the food stamp cards. It's a whole racket. They're getting paid to get them onto Medicaid, get them onto food stamps, and they're completely illegal. And that's happening. Yeah. Why? Because the people you have working at these health departments, at the state agencies, are all leaning left and just signing them through when they know they're illegal. They know they don't have documentation. Okay, right. Doesn't matter. So you know for a fact there's more than that. Another one here, Utah Food and Nutrition Center, they recognize that SNAP benefits have been going to illegals for a long time. And if you looked up at it during the Biden administration, they had all this information on how illegals could get it. Then here, investigation reveals 39 million Social Security numbers were out there. So yeah, it's identity fraud. So 39 million Social Security numbers were out there in the legal black market. In pursuit of its mission to safeguard American citizens from the harmful effects of mass migrants, the Immigration Return Law Institute, IRLI, has found that 39 million Americans have potentially had their Social Security numbers stolen by illegal aliens pursuing work in the country during the Obama administration.
Yeah, that was a a relatively short period of time. 39 million Social Security
numbers are out.
All because the Obama administration stopped verifying when things didn't match up.
And we got another one right here that talks about that. So on this one,
get rid of the checks and balances and nothing more.
So this is just a local news in Colorado. Criminals selling fake identity documents to migrants in Colorado, desperate to find work. CBS News, Colorado investigates. This is just one state. You know this is happening everywhere.
That's right.
Everywhere. Criminals are printing and selling fake identification documents like Social Security and permanent resident cards to migrants who are desperate for documentation so they are able to find work. Nearly 40,000 migrants from South and Central America have crossed rivers and jungles to come to Denver. So this is 40,000 just in Denver alone. This is not the whole country because it's millions in the country. In recent months, seeking better lives, many of these migrants told CBS News Colorado they felt that they had no other choice but to buy the fake documents because otherwise they can't secure a job to feed their families.
Because otherwise they can't illegally break into our country and still feed their families on our backs. Yeah, okay.
This is the problem for everyone. One Venezuelan migrant told CBS News Colorado in an interview translated from Spanish, everyone, that is all the migrants who arrive, all the migrants, the first document is this, a fake one. Yeah, the Sun Times, this is from the United Kingdom reporting on the United States for some reason. FBI warns 24 million Social Security numbers sold online. The other article says 39 million. 19 million is sold on the black market. And it goes down here and shows, dubbed SSNDOB, the black market organization comprised numerous websites that have for years operated to sell the personal information of individuals. And it just goes down and talks about how before the IRS was sending out notifications to the state that this Social Security number didn't match. Oh, sending it to employers. This actually matches a dead person, doesn't match this living person, just unmatched Social Security numbers. So they're no longer doing that.
Yeah.
And the Trump administration is trying to make that back into practice, but is fighting, getting court systems to put that back. But they used to send that out as part of the E-Verify that weren't matching. But if they got...
So when we were sending in, like I handle all that in my office. So when I'm sending in my I-9 and stuff, doesn't...
No, it doesn't matter. You can put any name on there.
Perfect.
And any Social Security number. If it doesn't match, no one cares.
No one cares. They used to verify it. They're not...
Yeah.
Ever since Obama, they stopped verifying it. And stopped sending out... Well, they stopped sending out the notifications to employers.
Yeah.
That it did not match.
They don't want to know, or they haven't wanted to know.
Well, they know, they just don't want it out there so the public doesn't know about it. So that...
Well, they don't want to know because then that they have to take action, right?
Well, they want them to stay here. That's always been the plan, is to keep them here.
And unfortunately, too many on the right have wanted them here for the cheap labor.
Yeah.
So, our side has bad people who've done bad things and they still fight for it. They still want to take advantage of virtual slaves. They still want that. They don't care what their life is like.
Well, coming from that side, I mean, I come from that side. I was a general contractor for years, and it's not necessarily virtual slaves because we paid them equal to, if not more than we paid normal Americans. The main reason why most contractors and other people hire them
because they'll work.
Because they work.
Here's the thing, though.
Because they actually work.
And I get that, but now we're being told that we need H-1Bs for all of our tech jobs. No, you know what? This is America. If there is a certain amount of immigration that most of us are fine with. Beyond that, if you can't fill your jobs, I guess we don't get nice stuff, and we better figure out how to work. And I think what happens over time, you have too many people. I've heard the same thing from ranchers and stuff. And
You got
even
too many
from,
entitled young people that just don't want to work anymore.
right. And
College to get some
right.
sociology degree.
And if we had not backfilled with illegal labor that is cheaper, on the aggregate, it is cheaper. Because if you want to get an American to do some of these jobs, maybe it's just going to have to cost more. I guarantee you guys remember when we grew up, food budgets were a much larger part of what a family would spend money on. Well, it's because we were paying people a living wage. The left wants to force a living wage through regulation. We would have a living wage in most industries if we would stop importing people who will work for less than a living wage. It will drive our costs up, but it will keep our inflation down. And we won't have the same kind of competition for housing and for things within our own communities. Like, you can't even get into an emergency room now because it's flooded with not only illegals, because that's where they come for their health care because they don't have insurance. Most of those Medicaid payments are emergency Medicaid. They're paid out of the out of the emergency room. Or
and they have to treat them.
Well, it's
and they have to
bankrupting
treat
hospitals.
them.
There's numbers coming out
It
with the
is
hospitals.
bankrupting. Obamacare bankrupted a lot of hospitals, and that's why you saw the consolidation.
Well, most illegals are going to ERs.
Yep.
And
Yep.
no one's covering that. So they all go to the government to get it covered.
The feds cover it, and it sucks to be the doctor in that
Taxpayers.
situation.
Because they're covering it at only fractions of it, the money. And so there's
So the rest
hospitals
of
literally
us pay
coming
the
out saying, I can't update my hospital. I can't improve anything because I just don't have the budget for it because everything's getting eaten up in the other.
And by the way, Obamacare did. The implementation of Obamacare really forced down it. Look, it took competition out of the market, right? And it forced down a lot of the prices because so many people went on the exchange. And the exchange is like government negotiated to a great degree. Like, it is through private companies, but there are too many government regulations. Yeah, and there are all these government regulations, so it's not free market at all. And these companies aren't. And they folded a lot of our regular health insurance. Like, I am not on the exchange. I pay out of my pocket I used to pay $700 a month for my health insurance. It went from $400 to $700 in 20 years. You know what it's done since the implementation of Obamacare 10 years ago? It's now $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't even get health care.
No, because you're paying for all the ER visits for these illegals.
For everyone else. Yeah. Well, my taxes are paying for that. And now my health insurance is paying for a bunch of people who, get their health insurance supplemented not only by the taxpayer, but also by the health insurance companies.
We also see their benefits go down. So
yes.
I do with patients. And so we'll see. We just see the natural progression. When there's a Democrat in office, their premiums go up and then their benefit, their allowable, goes down.
Yeah.
And then they ask me, well, when I had my other son in here a couple of years ago, you said that they paid $2,000.
Yeah.
Why is this one only $1,000? I'm like, you'll have to ask your, it's like that's what the employer. And then now with Trump, the premiums are going down or staying the same, and the benefits are creeping back up again. But it's constantly been a roller coaster.
Okay, that's interesting to see it from your perspective. Mm-hmm. Because do you know what has happened to I always had like $1,000 deductible. Since Obamacare, my deductible has always been between $5,000 and $7,000.
Yeah.
Like, it changed.
Ours is 10, 5 each.
Yeah.
Need
it
it.
just destroyed the market. It destroyed everything about it. Right. And so if you can remove a population that is imported from the third world, yes, our things would cost more, but life would be better in every way and wages would go up.
What these people that are so pro-illegal immigration and they don't understand the difference between, because they just think you hate immigrants, period.
Right.
And it leaves the legal immigrant caught between.
Yes.
And dealing with the they don't get the free stuff. They're struggling to get, the jobs. And those are the ones who are getting forgotten and hurt in this.
And they are, if you look at statistics, most for instance, a lot of our illegal immigration before Biden was from South and Central America. Since Biden, that whole thing changed, but it still may be the majority. I don't know. But Hispanics do not like illegal immigration when they came here legally.
Right.
And it's so racist for the left to be like, make this assumption. They really do. They think that the color of your skin is going to mean that you side with other people with the color of your skin and you have no morals. That's what Democrats think, right?
Yeah. I get it on the podcast and I'm like, I'm 100% Latin. My parents immigrated here legally from Chile back in the 50s.
Yeah.
And my parents did not like illegal
We
immigration.
did a whole podcast on immigration because my wife's from Colombia and she immigrated here legally. And she just became a U.S. citizen a month ago. So just sworn in. We did a whole podcast on her swearing in and everything.
Oh, cool.
But
So sweet.
the whole thing here is going back to the shutdown. So you have a left that is trying to blame the right for the shutdown.
Right.
One, the entire reason for the shutdown is they want the SNAP benefits to extend, the Medicaid benefits to extend to all these status-carrying illegals.
Yes.
But it's not just that. Ocasio wants dance lessons, LGBT dance lessons. I saw that on the list.
It was on the
I'm
list.
like, I don't get it.
They're just insane.
There's a lot of the
They
things
already dance very well.
well, it
They
wasn't
could
even
teach
in
her
our,
how to dance.
it wasn't in our country. It was in Zimbabwe or something like that. It was a lot of the stuff that was cut out of USAID. They want to put back in.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact that the vast majority of those programs are not going to those programs. And they
Correct.
10% of them may go to the program to make it a legitimate program, but that money gets funneled back around and gets distributed by their deep state operatives to keep their programs going when they don't have the House, the Senate, the Judiciary. They don't have any of those programs. So it's always been funneling money to their programs using the deep state.
Yes.
In order to do that, they have to have the programs in place. So let's put the programs back in place that USAID was giving us money on, that the big beautiful bill just took out. We're not going to open the government back up until we get our programs back, our secret programs back.
Yep.
Plus our illegal population that we're buying because we know we're going to eventually get them voting.
Yep.
Or we're going to buy their vote through giving them free food stamps and Medicaid.
And
So
make
they're
them
holding-
dependent on a government system instead of allowing them to flourish.
Keep them down.
Keep them down.
Keep them down. Let's put the rest of the country at risk. Let's put our military, let's not pay them. Let's not pay our traffic controllers. Let's pay all these other people because I want to stay in power. And that's what it boils down to.
Yep.
Their baby's throwing a temper tantrum. But they've gotten their way for so long. Like, why would you not? It's the entitlement thing, right? They always get their way in these shutdown fights. The left always had, or the people, I don't even want to say right and left because a lot of Republicans have been on the wrong side of this.
Yes.
Those who want to constantly increase spending have always won this fight in the past. I don't think they're winning this time.
Well, it's funny how all the Republicans are standing together now because there's a lot of those middle of the road, wishy-washy Republicans that
don't stand for anything.
Don't stand for anything. And and we covered this when we talked to Burgess Owens. And so the problem is there's a lot of those Republicans that don't stand for anything. They come from these very, very purple states where their constituency is they just barely got into office. So they really got to cater to both sides. And so they're kind of a wishy-washy Republican on purpose because that is their constituency.
Yes, but there are a whole lot of Republicans from conservative areas who are wishy-washy because
that is where we need to draw the line.
That's right, because they want some kind of advantage, because they're getting rich off of something, or their friend is, or they just don't believe what they ran on.
They're serving for the wrong reason.
They're serving for the wrong reason. Or they really are leftists who put an R next to their name so that they could win an election. But they are Republicans. And you know what? I love Burgess. He can say that all day long. That's part of it. But there's a big part of people who just are not honest. They're not. And they want their hand in the cookie jar too.
But you're not one of those.
Oh,
and
gosh.
I am so grateful to have you working for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're going to have to quiet everybody in the comments section. Say, yes, illegals have always received SNAP benefits, food stamps. They've always gotten Medicaid. Millions of them, millions and millions. That's just the ones the government is legally putting in there because they have a status.
As long as
now you count 39 million Social Security numbers are out there that have been stolen and identities stolen. All you have to do to get SNAP benefits and Medicaid is pop into any one of these state agencies with a Social Security number and a driver's license.
Biden was giving Social Security numbers within 2 weeks? Within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks.
Now that's efficient government right there.
Citizens, that's right. They decided to be efficient for once.
So they can get these benefits.
That's right. That's what it was all about.
Wow.
They're getting home loans. They're getting services. They are getting
driver's licenses.
They're getting all of it.
Yeah. They're getting CDLs.
Yeah, she's commenting on that
video. 3 days they found 3 days on I-40 in Oklahoma. 91 illegal immigrants with CDLs driving. They hauled them all into jail. Yeah. And then 120 people arrested for total, including those 91, for immigration.
CDLs and can't even read the road signs.
I know. So that's got to stop. I looked up nationwide, the increase in premiums on auto insurance is 56% since 2020. And I think ours has been higher than that. I think most people's is higher than that.
So we'll have to see how long this shutdown lasts, because I don't know what the Democrats are going to stand on or how much longer they can hold out on this thing, because it's
keep it
unless they've got their woke people that are just so in tune to the narrative that's all they're going to see.
Well, here's the thing. Most essential services still operate during a shutdown. When there's a shutdown, I heard this number during the last one. I don't remember anymore, but I think it's like 30% of the federal government is all that shuts down.
That's it. Yeah.
It's some small.
But there's a lot of people working without a paycheck. So from what I'm hearing is tomorrow's the 11th. So the next paycheck was supposed to go out on the 11th. So or Monday, I think, is the paycheck. So no one's lost a paycheck yet in the federal government. So their payday, I think, is either today or Monday, which is the military is supposed to be getting their paycheck today or Monday. The air traffic controllers are all supposed to be getting their paycheck today or Monday. So this is going to be the first paycheck that people actually don't get that are supposed to be the essential workers that still have to go to work even though they're not getting paid to go to work. And so what they're saying on your air traffic controllers, they said there's probably over 10% have called in sick. So they're not going to work because they're not. I said, I'm not getting my paycheck. I'm not showing up. I mean,
oh, come on. But they always get their back pay.
They always get their back pay.
Yes, this sucks, and no one wants to not get their paycheck.
Yeah.
But you work for the federal government, and this happens every few years.
Yeah, they're still going to get their back pay.
For it, I don't know what to do to help you.
Yeah.
Because guess what? All the rest of us in the private economy, there are things called downturns. We don't have a guaranteed paycheck.
Ew.
Yeah.
You do. So if
you plan for a rainy day,
so you plan for a rainy day because you know this happens every
what's
few
probably happening with most of those workers is they're probably just going to double dip because they're going to get their paycheck whether they're working or not working. And they're going to go find a part-time job and make some side money that they get some immediate cash, and they're still going to get their paycheck.
Well, did you hear about that woman? I did this video. I don't think I've put this one out yet. Who was it? Someone said that it was, Joni Ernst said that she and her staff, they'd found $1 trillion in wasteful spending. There was a woman working 3 federal jobs, getting paid at all of them. And she had some days where she logged in 26 hours of work. So, yeah, they can just go get another federal job.
That's a big day.
They'll start
big day.
Get their federal paycheck, go start driving Uber or something like that, get another paycheck there. And so we'll see how long this thing lasts and see what happens, because what's going to happen is they're going to have to find some kind of a tool that puts a little bit more pressure on the Democrats to fold. And it's not going to be all of them. They're going to have to find certain states where there's part of their populace that's getting more and more upset about it, that the Republicans can put pressure on and just turn. I think what do they need, like four Democrats to turn?
I mean,
Fetterman's already turned. They have to have 60%. 60% is all they need. And we've got 53 plus. We got 53 because Fetterman's voting with us, but Paul is not voting with Paul's voting with the Democrats. So we're still at 53. So we need
Yeah, because we had 2 that didn't vote with us, right?
1, just Paul.
Oh, I thought there were 2.
Just Paul. Ron Paul is not voting because he doesn't want to pass it. So Ron Paul is voting Democrats, but Fetterman's voting with us. So it's still 53 to 47. We need 60. So they still need another 7 Democrats to flip.
I don't see it happening. I don't know how this ends.
Do you think it could last weeks or a month?
I think it could easily. Easily.
Christmas is around the corner, and they want to buy their kids
Halloween's around the corner.
the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip.
This is true. Well, good.
Well,
Thanks for having me.
everybody, thanks for being on board with us. Again, like, subscribe, share it. Please get us out there. Help us support this channel. This is God and Country. We'll see you next week.